Well, after nominations deadline closed a week ago, Ramaphosa seems to be the firm favourite to retain his position, even with the dark cloud of the Phala Phala scandal hanging over him. Several sources close to the situation claim that Ramaphosa is leading Mkhize by almost 75% of the nominations, while Nkosazana, Dlamini-Zuma and Lindiwe, Sisulu are battling to get enough votes even to be on the ballot. Meanwhile, Paul Mashatile is set to possibly be up for the position of Deputy President. Joining me now to discuss this further is political analyst Dr. Zamo Mbandlwa. Dr. Mbandlwa, thank you so much for your time and thank you for joining us this morning. Well, you know, the Sunday newspapers are in this morning. Reports seem to be indicating that President Cyril Ramaphosa is appearing ahead of the pack. He does seem to be the firm favourite going into the elective conference to retain his position as party president. All of this happening even though he has Phala Phala, the scandal, hanging over his head. What are your thoughts on that?
Good morning, Dogozo, and good morning to the viewers at home. Thank you for having me again. No, this is very interesting, and I like what you are saying, because prior the investigation or the Phala Phala saga, President Ramaphosa did not have anything against him from the members. But those who are against him, they were hoping that maybe after the Phala Phala investigation, his support will decline. But as things stand now, he's still ahead of his contenders. He's still ahead in the nominations, particularly in the other 7 provinces. Well, in KZN and in Eastern Cape, he seems not to enjoy a full support from delegates and from the provinces, from the provincial leadership. However, in the other provinces, he's still enjoying full support. What becomes more interesting, Togozo, is that amongst all the provinces where I said he's enjoying a full support is, if you look at the lineup, the people that are actually being nominated with him, they are not consistent in a way that there are those who have a different preference of the Deputy President and the Secretary General. However, regardless of their preferences in the other positions, but the current President remain their favorite.
I do want to talk about the female contenders in this particular race to party president, Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma, who, as we know, contested against CR17 back in 2017, and Lindiwe Sisulu, neither of them having enough votes to even make it onto a ballot. Is this an indictment on the country's governing party, its inability to focus on the potential that lies in women leaders and having a woman at the helm of the organization?
Dogozo, you are talking about something that has been a topic in the country for a number of years since the democracy. And what becomes very problematic for me, and I think for the society at large, is women are able to identify women leaders, and male leaders are able to identify women leaders. But women themselves, they are not supporting each other. And that alone creates a problem, because if you have divided women who then do not support a women leader, who then prefer a male leader at the expense of the female leadership, then it becomes a problem. So our ideas will remain just ideas if women themselves are not able to support each other and then rally behind another female to lead in the ANC. However, it can not only be about the female, but it's also about the candidate, because women might also want to have female leaders, but if they don't agree on a particular candidate, then definitely they will be divided. Remember, currently there are 2 females who are actually interested in becoming the president of the ANC. You have Mama Sisulu, you have Mama Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma. So both of them are females, and it then becomes very problematic for the female structures in the ANC, like the Women's League and the Women's Young Network, or I can't remember the actual name that they used to call themselves. So it becomes very problematic now because they don't know who to support, whether Mama Sisulu or Mama Dlamini-Zuma. So it becomes very problematic for them. Then they end up supporting the males.
Yeah. Well, Zamo, just to circle back to the issue of Phala Phala and how it's hanging over, the president's head, we have the independent panel that is due to hand over its report to Parliamentary Speaker Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula at the end of this month. We've got Parliament that is scheduled to debate the contents of that report on the 6th of December. That window, it's about a 10-day period between that formal debate and the ANC's elective conference, or at least when it's expected to kick-start. What are you predicting in the case where impeachable conduct is found, or at least evidence of impeachable conduct is found on the part of the president? And we have to go through this lengthy parliamentary process and inquiry into possibly impeaching the president. I mean, where does that leave the ANC at that particular point? That will be, in my view, a party in severe crisis with a leader that has effectively been given marching orders.
The ANC enjoyed the majority support in Parliament, and members of ANC members in Parliament belong to specific factions within the ANC. They have their own preferred candidate. Now, if the current president in the national conference next month, if he win the conference, even those who actually did not want to support the president in the parliament, as ANC members, who also maybe might have aligned themselves with the opposition parties in parliament to impeach the president, will then shift, because there is no way that people or members of parliament who are members of the ANC will want to actually be against the current president of the ANC and the president of the country, because that directly speaks to their future in the ANC and their future in government or in the parliament. So this simply means that the national conference of the ANC will be the key factor here on what will happen in parliament, because there's no way that the opposition parties, even combined, will actually be able to impeach the current president, because if you look at the numbers of the members of the parliament, the ANC is the majority, and ANC united will never be able to be defeated by opposition parties combined through this motion. Now, the national conference of the ANC is the key factor in almost everything. However, if the president do not win the national conference of the ANC, then the motion is likely to be supported by the ANC members. So let's wait for the national conference to decide. But the national conference is the key factor to the future of the president of the country in the ANC and also in government.
Well, Dr. Mbandlwa, I'd like for us to just shift our focus to Paul Mashatile, who has emerged, not even emerged, I mean, he's completely outpaced the other contenders for the position of deputy president, gaining support from 8 provinces across the country. I know that he, of course, has done a lot of groundwork, especially the work that he's had to do in the office of the Secretary General with the suspension of Ace Magashule and the tragic passing of Jesse Duarte. Has that helped him in any way? It seems as though that was a form of campaigning even before campaigning started for the position of deputy president, that groundwork that he was able to do, speaking to branches, galvanizing the movement in a way quite early on.
Yes, definitely. In the ANC, a person that is elected to be the Secretary General of the ANC is referred to as the engine of the organization. And I think Paul Mashatile actually helped him to be the SG, not by default, because he was actually elected as the Treasurer General. So remember, the Secretary General is responsible for many things, like the membership, the processes of the conferences in different regions and provinces. So he's actually on the ground. He's working with members. He's working with leaders. So he's actually the center of the NEC. So it becomes very easy for him to enjoy support. Now, based on his nominations and his support, the support that he's gaining from the provinces, you have mentioned that 7 provinces are actually supporting him, or you said 8 provinces. Yes, he's enjoying a support, but what becomes more visible on his part is that he's playing the political card that was played by the current deputy president of the ANC, Didi Mabuza, because he was supported by a different faction, but in the national conference, then he managed to actually instruct his supporters to support the current president. I'm saying this because in the initial stages of the nomination processes of the ANC, he was seen very aligned with Dr. Mkhize, and those who are supporting Dr. Mkhize were also supporting Paul Mashatile as a deputy president. But lately, he's actually found also on the slate of the current president. And I think he have not said anything, but he's supported by both factions. And I've seen a statement by those who are supporting Dr. Mkhize that they are not sure about Paul Mashatile as a deputy president anymore, because he's also seen on the other slate of the current president, and he's gaining more support or momentum on the slate that is currently supporting the sitting president. So that alone will actually mean that Thokozo is likely to emerge regardless of the faction or regardless of the person that is becoming the president. But his position as a deputy president is more safe compared to many other contenders.
The final individual that I would like for us to discuss is former ANC KZN Secretary Dumiseni Ntuli. He, of course, running for the position of Secretary General, has said that he doesn't want to contest being aligned to any political slate. He would much rather purely contest purely on the basis of branch support, which clearly he is getting. And that's interesting because I suspect he's going to play a pivotal role in that elective conference when it comes to representation for the province of KZN. It's very important, at least provincially and regionally, that KZN has representation in that top 6. What do you make of the support that he's been garnering?
I think many leaders in the ANC are always saying they don't want to be part of any faction within the ANC. But the reality on the ground is quite very different. There is no way that you can go to the conference and contest a position as an individual without support from branches and regions and provinces. There is no way. However, people just, they just say that for the PR exercise, because, you need to be aligned to a specific faction for you to become the leader in the ANC in any level, because you cannot support yourself. There are people that need to support you. And while you are talking about the position of the Secretary General, I think this time around, the contestation in that particular office is not as much as it used to be, because I think there are about 3 or 4 people who are actually contesting this position, and the members of the ANC are not very spoken about this particular position like in the past, because in the past you'll recall that during the tenure of the former president of the ANC, people were talking about the president and the Secretary General, and other positions were not well spoken about. But this time around, people are talking about 2 main positions, which is the president and the deputy president. So those are the positions that are highly contested. But if you look at the deputy secretary general and the secretary general and the treasurer, there are not many candidates contesting that position. So I think what you spoke about with regards to the slate, I think the slates themselves are not paying more attention to these particular positions.
Well, we'll leave it there for now, Dr. Mbandlwa. Thank you so much for your time and of course, sharing your insights are on our platform this morning. That's political analyst Dr. Zamo Mbandlwa. Up next is the latest